wrote a note on Facebook. And I was like, you weren't a basket case. You just were in this place in your life where you looked like something that you hadn't ever seen yourself that way before. And that's what happens sometimes, right? Sometimes it's a way that, because of an illness or something that we don't want to see. And sometimes we just haven't seen, we haven't had that presence and that knowing in ourselves, of what that can be like. There's one woman who came in and she was very emotional when she was going to be photographed. And she's like, I realized this morning as she was getting ready, she said, my mom or my aunts, my grandma never ever would have done this. Never. Right? And that kind of goes back to those dates and those things that I was telling you, the value that sometimes we have not given ourselves permission to show up and to see ourselves. I'm going to share a little bit of family history with you. I'm going to out myself some. As you know, I mentioned that I worked for 20 plus years as a school counselor. My mom was an educator, and my grandparents owned a camera store. My grandmother, these are my maternal grandparents. My grandmother was the bookkeeper. Until the day she died, she lived to be 100. She lived longer than my grandfather. It was his store. It was Pap's camera store. And probably because it was. She never could have gotten a loan, but she was just as much a part of it. And it was a very successful business. And she ran the numbers, right? So, I digress a little bit about the business and the story. But I heard this story my entire life. I've loved photography since I was in high school, which I like to say was 5 years ago, but it wasn't, right? But I always heard, you can't make money as a photographer, you can't, all of these things that we hear and we believe. And then I was like, when my grandmother died at 100, they still had a considerable amount of money that they had invested well to share with their grandchildren. So we hear these things, and what I would implore or invite you to do, don't believe all the stories in your head. Don't believe them, because they're not true, right? And you can change them. And some of the things we've done are things that you can do to change those. Okay. This is my other grandmother. She's in my studio. Some of you have met her. And she was a really high energy woman. And when she died, this picture was hanging in her dining room. Does anybody else have any past, older, a long time ago family members who've had large portraits? It used to be a thing. And it's a thing in the South, right? Do you have one?
Well, I heard from my grandparents, whatever, was that, and then another photographer recently mentioned this to me, is that people who hang photos in their homes have higher self-confidence.
Yes.
That in your children too,
Yep.
I'm seeing their photos. I mean, I'm a single photo, but I'm working on it, progress. But that's what I heard was that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have heard that too. I've heard that. And I don't know if there's data around it, but I've heard that. You just teed me up really well. So I say it again.
I said you can pay me.
Okay. So I'm going to show you something. And this is a huge act of courage for me to do. And the reason I'm doing it here with you, my big reveal, is because I would like you to consider having the courage to do something scary, right? All right, so here we go. Here it is. You might guess what it is. It's the big reveal. I don't know where the scissors are. It's the reveal. I need to find the scissors. I think I had them here. There they are. So even today, when I was getting ready, I was like, should I do this? What are they going to, like in my head, right? But that's my story, right? Has nothing to do with anybody else. So here we go. I picked this up like, how long ago, sweetie? December. It was early December. I was going to a Christmas party in Denver. Yeah, no, I didn't. I haven't opened it yet. Because I've been so, you know, here it is. There it is. It's me. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So it's going to be in my studio. Yeah.
Did you set up the camera and do it?
No. I had a photo shoot last summer in California with a mentor. So my grandmother will still be in the studio. This will be in the styling room because I'm like, so I called her Farmor, which means father's mother. She lived in Norway. So yeah, so there we go. I'm doing it. I'm even going to put it on the stand. What the heck? Kind of crazy. Yeah. Yeah. She's still around. So when she died, when my grandmother died, this grandmother, we went to Norway, and my dad was like, I can't get rid of that. That's like a portrait of my mom. I'm like, well, of course you shouldn't. Yes, I want it. You know? And so, yeah, I at the time, you know, didn't even realize like, yeah, that's her. I love having it. So I've shared some of this with you. When I was in high school and I went to visit her, she would walk to town every day, and she was ancient, right? Like probably my age now. And people would say, right, this is true. You guys are all laughing because it's true, right? But people would say, oh, you look so much like, in Norwegian, oh, you look so much like your grandmother. And I did. I used to wear my hair that way. And I still look like her. And I would be like, oh, really? You know, because I was kind of that snotty teenager thing. But, you know, I think it's such, like that gift, that was probably painted close to 100 years ago, right? And it was a gift for her, and it's a gift for me, right? And her presence, I mean, I think about her all the time.
She's in there. I can see her.
Yeah.
She's there.
Yeah.
Whoever painted that captured her.
Yeah.
Face,
Yeah. So that's her. So there you go.
Julie, the two of you look very related. When you looking at the two portraits, you would see you're definitely related. But it's very interesting the style difference between her portrait
Yes.
and your portrait.
Uh-huh.
You said you had a mentor who just now that took that photo of you. And it's very interesting as we're talking about this stuff here, how your grandmother looks very demure, if you will. Her portrait. You do not look demure. Not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just interesting.
Because I'm not demure, you know that. I mean, let's just be.
I think it reflects just honestly what you were talking
Thank you.
about in terms of women stepping into who they are.
Yeah.
And I think